Welcome, everybody, to the Across the Sky podcast. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci at the Press of Atlantic City. The Across the Sky podcast is our Lee Enterprises National Weather podcast. Comes out every Monday, wherever you get your podcast. Lee Enterprises owns and operates over 70 newsrooms across the country here across the sky. And I am joined with my Lee Weather family. We have Sean Subwood at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, Kirsten Lang at the Tulsa World, and we have Matt Hollander covering all kinds of places in the Midwest. This is early February. Depending on where you are in the country, you've either seen a lot of snow and ice or you've barely seen anything, and I'm definitely in that camp. But we're going to talk about snow days today. No guests this week, just some little bit of banter. We have 6 snow day matchups, and we're going to have all 4 of us answer which type of snow day we like better. Before we get into that, Sean, I'll toss it over to you. We're recording this on February the 2nd, Groundhog Day, and you had a little bit of snow. It looks like Phil was right so far. He's been doing pretty good for you guys.
Between about 6:30 and 9 this morning, we had a little snow. It added up to a 2/10 of an inch of snow. Some places a little bit more on the west side of town, but it is our first accumulating snow of the season, and it is late even for us. I went back and looked at the record books. This is the 8th latest we've gotten our first snow of the season in Richmond, Virginia. But a lot of it's melted already. It's 36, 37 degrees. It's cloudy. And then we're going to be gearing up for the short-lived polar outbreak around here on Friday night and Saturday.
Yeah, keyword short on that. Yeah. Obviously I'm just up the road a little bit in New Jersey, and we got about Sean, maybe 36 hours of some serious cold, and then it goes away. We also had our first snowfall on February 1st. That was the 3rd latest snowfall on record. Let's talk about someone who's seen a lot of wintry weather recently. We'll go to Kirsten over in Tulsa. You've had a wintry smorgasbord over the past week.
Yeah, this is actually the first day that my kids have left the house and gone to school left the house since Saturday, but gone to school since last Friday. So, we just had a mess here. It wasn't as bad as what was happening down in South Oklahoma and northern Texas and central Texas. But ours was just kind of this, it was just this, smorgasbord, that's a great word, of stuff. We had sleet, we had thunder sleet, which was kind of cool. Hadn't seen that before. And then we had some freezing rain. And so that just kind of set up driving nightmares. So we've had snow days, but they're not really snow because we didn't actually get snow. It was just ice. And so they've been canceling school and canceling everything for the past 3 days.
I think everybody, can feel a certain way about snow. I don't think anybody really likes ice or sleet. Forecasting it, living in it, walking around it, driving around it, definitely not good. Matt, what's happening over in Chicagoland and beyond?
Well, if you remember last week's episode, I was talking about how it was so over winter and it was one system after another, and it snows, lots of small snows, but suddenly it's all gone in the Midwest. We sent our bad, snowy, cloudy weather to the east and to the south, and it's just cold in the Midwest. But hey, at least the sun's out. I'm happy about that. But yeah, it's cold, so now I'm ready. We got rid of the snow. There's still snow on the ground, but not falling snow. So now I'm just ready for a warm up. I'm still ready for spring. I'm still over winter.
Now, being in Chicago, and you've been there we're almost 2 years in Chicago now, Matt. Where are we at? A year and a half in Chicago?
Coming up on the 1.5 year mark.
Year and a half in Chicago. Does all that cold prevent people from going out? Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, or are people still doing their thing? They're like, we just live with it.
It definitely slows down, but you live in Chicago and you adjust. Like I said, I'm handling this winter better than last winter. I upped my my jacket game. I got some more appropriate jackets to handle the cold compared to moving up from South Texas. So I don't have to double jacket anymore. I can just have one big fluffy jacket to put on. But I will say it does slow down. Like, for one thing, I think the tourists see the forecast and are like, no, I don't think now is a good time to visit Chicago. So you don't have as many tourists in the city. The locals still go out, but it's definitely not like it is in the summer where, boy, do people live up the summers in Chicago. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night are hopping. in the summer. No, not so much in the winter, but people still go out. Just you don't spend much time outside. You go inside very quickly.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, so we'll get into our snow day matchups here. Like I said, we have several of them, and it's going to be either pick this or that, and then we'll do some discussion. We'll see how this evolves over time here. And of course, you guys at home, let us know what you think is the better one. I'm actually curious, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, I think, because nobody knows the questions I'm asking yet. So this is all going to be spontaneous and spur of the moment. And I should say I need to thank my sister, Gabriella, and my brother-in-law, Joe, because this all started from a phone conversation we had in the car about a week ago. And here we are podcasting about it all across the country. So let's go. So option 1 and option 2, we're going to ease ourselves into it here. What do you guys prefer as a snow day? A delayed opening or an early dismissal?
This is delayed opening. This is easy. Delayed opening.
Kirsten, we'll go around first and then we'll dive into conversation.
Early dismissal.
Do I get to be the tiebreaker here?
Well, I'm going to vote too.
Oh,
Don't mess it up,
but-
Matt.
No, I'm with Sean. Definitely delayed opening. I am not a morning person at all. So if I have a chance to sleep in, I'm all for it. Delayed opening.
Okay. I'm going to go early dismissal on this one. So we got to tie at 2 if my adding up is correct. My thought is if you have the early dismissal, and you see that, I'm thinking of the excitement, right? Because usually if there's an early dismissal, the snow is falling for a couple of hours. Everybody's getting antsy. I'm getting antsy. I'm getting excited. Are they going to do it? Are they going to call it? Are they going to say we're going home? And then it happens and you're like, I got free time at home. So I'm going to go. That's my thought on early dismissal. The floor is everybody's here, but though, to tell me if I'm missing something.
Joe, I'm going to defend my position. One, I don't want the early dismissal. I'm going to tell you why. First, because everybody wigs out, man. That bus drivers, the parents, everybody flips out at an early dismissal. We're worried about traffic accidents, worried about is the bus going to get here, all of that mess. So for me, it's a much more logistical thing. I love the concept of it. Yeah, we get to take off early. But I'm going to tell you what, man, an early dismissal is a nightmare logistically. You get angry parents, the whole bit. I would rather just sleep 2 more hours, be done. Thank you. What was out there melted. Everybody gets there safely, and you go on down the road. So for me, this is not even close.
Yeah, I feel like this is when you have an early dismissal, something went wrong with the forecast because it probably should have been a snow day. And if to have people then having to venture out in the middle of the snow or the ice that's coming down, not a good situation. So something's gone wrong, I feel like, when there's early dismissal. I'm like, the forecast is not what it's paying out to be, because otherwise people should have just stayed home today. So I feel like early dismissal, there are issues where you're planning ahead. If there's a delayed opening, it's like it's coming, so we need to delay the opening. So I feel like the forecast was better and we're better prepared, and you're not having people venture out in it. So yeah, I like the delayed opening and sleeping in. Again, that's probably number 1.
You guys don't have a 19-month-old and a 4-year-old that would keep you from sleeping in. So regardless, we're going to be awake in our household. And so that's why I'm like, look, I'd rather them just get out of school early and then we can play the rest of the day versus trying to wrangle them all back in and then get them out the door, go to school late.
So two final thoughts on this. One, Matt, that doesn't necessarily have to be true if the forecast was busted for an early dismissal, because if snow isn't going to start till noon or 1 o'clock, you might just want to have the full day. Sometimes there are scheduled early dismissals as well. We had 1 or 2 of those when I was in school. The second thing, Kirsten brings up a good point, and Sean was alluding to this too, about being on the other side of this as a parent. I should have said this in the ground rules. I was thinking it'd be more fun if we took this from the, hey, I'm still a kid perspective of things rather than the parent perspective of things, and give us a little more nostalgia. So are we down with that for the next couple of questions? Can we go from the perspective of the kid? Are we okay with that?
I'm okay with that, but I'm still going to say I'd rather sleep in, even
if
I don't have to, even if I get to leave early, I'd rather sleep in. Even at the age of 8, I'd rather sleep in.
Perfectly fine. Understood. I just wanted to, I should have said that at the beginning here. All right. Second one here. Side note, my sister, my brother-in-law, and I had a heated conversation about this one. Do you want this? So we're going full snow day here. Do you want that phone call the night before or the morning of, Sean?
Night before.
Night before. Agreed.
That's tough. Again, coming from the kid's perspective, what would I get more excited about? I mean, I think I'd be excited either way.
But you don't have to do your homework if you get the call the night before.
You don't have to wake up early.
That's true. I don't have, my parents don't have to wake me up and say it's a snow day. So I'll go with a slight edge to the night before. A slight edge.
Okay. I'm actually going to go morning of, but it's like razor thin. And this was a heated conversation because my thought was, if it's the morning of, you did your homework already. And there's that anticipation all night of, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And then when it happens, you're like for me, for example, like when I was a kid, what happened with the phone ring in my parents' bedroom and the landline, they would answer and they would say, all right, school's closed. And I'd be like, oh my God, this is great. And then immediately go back to sleep and then wake up at like whatever, 8, 9, 9:30. And then just play like video games all day or watch the Weather Channel or do whatever. So it's tight, but that's my reasoning on it.
Yeah, see, there is that anticipation. It's like, why can't they announce it yet? I don't want to go to sleep. So I would have trouble going to sleep knowing there was a chance that it might be a snow day. And so then I might be tired and not be able to enjoy the snow day, though, because I'd be so excited, like wondering if it's going to happen and like looking outside, how much snow is there? How much ice is accumulating? So I think because I wouldn't be able to enjoy the day as much without probably getting as much sleep because of the excitement, that's why the night before I lean towards that. But I'd still be happy finding out in the morning.
I think I've always been a planner my entire life, even as a kid, I think. I don't know. And that's why I'd like it the night before. Plan.
Sean?
Oh yeah, I'm sticking by my guns. Just
That's fine.
I'm 8 or 9 years old. You see it on TV, you hear it on the radio the night before. You're relaxed. You don't have to stress. I totally hear what you're saying about the anticipation and the massive relief that morning. But if I can have that relief before I go to bed, hey, especially if it's 1978 and I'm 8 years old and it's a Monday night, I can stay up and watch Monday Night Football, which is what I wanted to do when I was 8 years old. And
That's
Mama
true.
said, look, Mama's like, you can watch a kickoff and you got to go to bed, because that's when Monday Night Football kicked off at 9 in the East. So I'd rather know the night before for any number of reasons.
Fair. Yeah, I think it's my head is close. I could have went for the clean sweep, but I was going morning up. One thing for the parents out here, Sean and Kirsten, how are snow days even communicated anymore? Like I'm like, I guess, old enough where there wasn't really like all this internet on cell phones and stuff, but I don't have kids yet. So
all right, well, since I'm the oldest one here, I will go with that. So in the 70s, when I was in elementary school, it was you turned on the radio and you just listened for it. You got up in the morning, you listened for it on the radio. Then, TV stations would sometimes, they wouldn't even scroll. This is before the day stuff was scrolling down across the bottom of the TV screen. They would just announce it. There'd be a big full screen graphic. These schools are closed tomorrow. Blah, 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 blah. And then you got into morning television in the late 80s and 90s, and it was the same thing. You would hear it on the radio, you would see it on the TV, and that's how you found out. And then, of course, in these last 15 years with the Internet of Things, it's just a lot easier for something to be posted on a web page or automatically through social media or any other method. It's not, phone calls happened, but there was a very brief window where there were actual phone calls that it was closed. I think there was this 4 or 5 years where they would do a call, but most of the time it just wasn't very efficient. So, and nowadays I don't know, because I'm old and my kids are like 20 and 24, so I don't know anymore.
Well, I can tell you what it's like now. Now
yes.
You've got, so the way I find out is I get an email. Multiple, it's like coming at me from multiple angles. So I get an email, I get a text message, I get Facebook, like private group updates from the school, and I get Instagram. So you can't miss it. You can't miss it.
I guess not. Yeah, you really, if you're showing up to school, that's your fault at that point.
Yeah,
But
pretty
see,
much.
I remember growing up and like turning on the morning news and seeing if my school district was listed. Like that's how I grew up with it. But it's definitely changed now. That's not how people are finding out anymore.
They
And so
still,
you're waiting for your school district to pop up. That helped with the anticipation and the excitement,
Mhm.
though. It's like, oh, that one, where's mine? Ah.
Yeah,
they
and they would
still
go
have
up.
that. They still do that. I mean, like local TVs will still scroll it at the bottom, but that's like it's like old news at that point because you already got a text or you already got an email or Facebook notification from it.
And back to the point of the anticipation, it was always in alphabetical order, so you knew where to pay attention
Yeah.
as they were reading them all off on the radio. If your school district started with an A, you better pay attention early on. If it started with a W, just go get your breakfast and come back in a little while. But in some of the bigger cities, and I don't know if this is still the case in Greater Philadelphia, but each school district was assigned a number. And on the news radio station there, KYW, they would just start reading off the numbers. These school districts are closed, and they just start rattling off numbers. In those bigger, in these bigger metropolitan areas where they have so many tiny school districts, because in Pennsylvania, the school districts don't line up with the municipalities. It's not like here in Virginia, you've got a county and you've got county schools. It's not like that in Pennsylvania. There are school districts that cross counties. Took me a long time to get used to that concept in Pennsylvania, but everybody did it a little bit different.
Interesting. All right. We'll go on to number 3 here. We're talking about full snow day again. Would you prefer a Friday snow day or a Monday snow day?
Friday.
I'm going to go with Monday, actually. Well, this is a tough one for everybody.
I know. Look at the
Kirsten had no qualms. She was like, I'm going in on Friday.
There's so much more like excitement around a Friday. I don't know. You're leading into the weekend.
But I also feel like if it's a Monday, your weekend just got extended.
That's true.
You got free bonus time because,
True.
I mean, we're meteorologists, so we're a little more privy to this. But on Friday, you might not necessarily be thinking snow day Monday, or you might have a hint at it. That was my thought for Monday.
I think I'm going to go with Monday too, just because I remember usually the best day of the school week were Fridays. Like if there was going to be a lighter school day, like if we were going to watch a movie in class, for example, it might be an educational movie like Bill Nye the Science Guy. I remember them plugging that on, but the teacher would usually do that on Fridays. I remember. So I always have my best school memories on Fridays, and that seemed to be the easiest day. So I would rather skip a Monday than skip a Friday. So I will take Mondays off rather than Fridays. I'd rather have a snow day on a Monday.
I like the way you think, Hollander. Because originally I was thinking Friday too, but you talk about the educational, audio visual. Some of us on this podcast are old enough to remember film strips in class. Oh my heavens, dating myself. But initially I thought Friday, it gives you a long weekend, especially if you get a big snow, then you've got a lot of time to enjoy it. But the reality is if it's a big snow and it hits on a Monday morning, in Virginia, you're going to have another couple of days off after that. So I think I'm going to go with Monday here as well. Monday.
All right. So we got Sean. We got the guys with Monday. Kirsten has Friday here. Yeah. And, I'm trying to think too, sometimes I remember one time, I think we had a President's Day weekend that we had an extra day off at the end of it there. And that was really nice because that was like 5 days in a row. All right. We're halfway through. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other end, we're going to keep going with our snow day matchups here with Kirsten, Matt, Sean, and I. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Welcome back, everybody, to the Across the Sky podcast. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci at the Press of Atlantic City in New Jersey. Join with me, our weather family here at Lee Enterprises, Kirsten Lang from the Tulsa World, Matt Hollander in the Midwest, Sean Sublett at the Richmond Times-Dispatch. And we are talking about snow days. We are going around the room. We're pitting different snow days against each other, and we are finding out everybody's answers here. We have done already delayed opening versus early dismissal. We did a snow day phone call the night before or the morning of, and then a Friday snow day compared to a Monday snow day. I've added up the tally so far. Matt and Sean, you guys are like made for each other. You guys are on the exact same path. All of your answers have been correct here. We'll see if that continues as we go forward into the second half here. So this one's actually from Ryan Laughlin, our very own editor of Atlantic City Weekly here, he pitched me a couple of ideas. I thought this was a good one. It's going to be a little subjective depending on where you live, though. But would you rather have an early season snow day or a late season snow day? So for me in New Jersey, I'm thinking, would I rather have a November snow day or like a March 30th snow day? Depending on where you are, that it's going to depend on what time of the year that is.
I feel like the late season just depends on how many snow days have you had already. If there have been multiple ones already, then it's not that big a deal. But if there's been if there hasn't been one and then you finally get one, I feel like that would be a big deal. But if it's been pretty active and there already been snow days, then it's not that big a deal. So
let's say it's like an average,
okay.
and you and Kirsten grew up in San Antonio. So I know not every year you had these kind of days. Let's just say it was maybe you had one snow day in San Antonio. All right. So, and then this is your second. So is the second one going to be early in the season? Would you rather it early in the season or late in the season?
I'm going to go early because by the time March comes around, you want to go on a spring break somewhere and you want to feel like things are warming up. I think when I was a kid, I know I did this. I hated if it was too cold and I couldn't go down to the coast, like the Gulf Coast, and wear a swimsuit on the beach. Like that would make me mad. And I feel like as an adult now, it has just transferred into the fact that you just get over it, and you're just kind of like, I'm done with this winter weather. So I'm going to say pre-Christmas.
Yeah, I'm going to go early. I'm going to go early too for a lot. I don't go to the beach as much in Virginia in March, but I think the idea being you're always waiting for the first one. And then when you get the first one, it's exciting. All right. But if it happens in March, there are some advantages to that, because if you go out and play in the snow in March, it will probably not be as cold as it will be in, let's say, a late November or December. But I think having one earlier, just a little bit better than the late one, because if it's March, I'm like, all right, I think I'm ready for spring. So let's move on. Whereas you still get the excitement of something new, the beginning of winter. So I'm going to go with the early versus late.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go early as well. I know we're keeping with the theme here, Sean. You and I continue to agree. But I'm thinking that this could also be your first snowstorm of the season. Again, maybe after months and months of no snow, finally, not only are you getting a snow day, but you're getting the first snow of the season. That's a possibility if it's an early one. Also, the other thing I'm thinking is if it's before Christmas break, you haven't had a break from school yet. You haven't had a couple weeks off. And so you're kind of getting anxious for a break in November. Maybe you'd say before Thanksgiving, or maybe just a couple days off of Thanksgiving, like sometime like an early Christmas, maybe to start that Christmas break early. So I'm going to go early season snow day rather than late season.
All right, I'm going to buck the trend on you guys again. I'm going to go with a late season one. I just think, at some point, like early in the season, that you're going to get that surprise. You're going to get that snow day at some point, at least in New Jersey, you will. So I'm okay waiting because I know the inevitable is going to happen. But once you get past, again, for me, like once you get past St. Patrick's Day, and if you were to get like a March 30th snow day, it's like, wow, we squeaked out a surprise here at the end. And now you're going to be in it for the long haul, because I don't think you're getting two of them in late March into April. You're probably just getting one, if anything. So I'm going late for that reason. I don't know if I convinced anyone.
No.
That's
It's a good point. I'm going to stick with early.
Fine. All right. So how about this one? So we're talking about a day and a half off of snow days here. So snow day and then a delayed opening, or an early dismissal and then a snow day?
I'm going to go with snow day and delayed opening again. So I got a day off and then I can sleep in. I'm big on the sleeping in. I do not like waking up early. I'm not a morning person. Every chance I get to sleep in, every chance I get to be not a morning person, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I understand the draw of, you get to leave early and then you have the whole next day off. I get that draw. And here's the caveat. If that happens on a Thursday, well, now you're looking at a big long weekend. But if that's not happening on a Thursday, I'm going to probably go with Hollander again. I'm sorry. We must be drinking the same cup of tea or something. But I'd rather have it the other way.
I don't know. I've always, again, I got to think about this from a kid perspective, right? I mean, because I can tell you as an adult, but from a kid perspective, I guess, I don't know. I think I would rather have the delayed opening the next day, I guess.
Wait, you mean the snow day and then the early dismissal?
Yes.
I mean, I'm
Yes.
sorry, the early dismissal and then the snow day?
No. And I know I answered different the first time, but now we're thinking as a child versus an adult with
Gotcha.
children. So as a child, I think it would be more I think it'd be more fun to have the snow day and then the delayed opening.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to be different again. I don't know what's going
Wow,
on.
Joe.
No.
I feel like
Wow.
the outcast here.
Maybe you
I
just
mean,
grew up in a different part of the country.
I'd say, listen, Dorsey's a whole nother breed, you know? But so and I'm working under the assumption that when you have the early dismissal, you know you're having that snow day the next day. You're not waiting. Like we're talking like we got, you know, the storm of the century rolling through for you East Coast people, 1996. But let's talk about if you have this early dismissal, you know the snow day is coming the next day. You just got yourself like a 36-hour break. And to Sean's point, if it is on a Thursday into a Friday, it's even better. And if it's even a Wednesday into a Thursday, that's fine because Friday is just going to be like the week between Christmas and New Year's at that point. You know, like not much is going on. So I'm going the opposite. I'm going the opposite of you guys. I don't know. You guys got to come to New Jersey one day and we'll talk about snow days. Maybe
I do like the idea of that Thursday afternoon off and then having Friday off. That would be the one
Yes.
situation where I would go for that.
Yes.
But otherwise, I like the idea of having a day off, and then I can stay up late because that's why I'm not a morning person, because I tend to stay up too late.
Yes, because
And
if it's
knowing that I would be able to stay up late and not have to wake up early and be tired. Yes.
yes, because if it's 1981, I could stay up late and watch Johnny Carson.
Sean, you have a lot of memories of snow days.
I do. I mean, look, the 70s were very snowy in Virginia, you know, and I was born in 1969. So these mid and late 70s, it's, you know, those are the first storms of my youth that I remember. And of course, I go back and look at the records. They weren't nearly as bad as I remembered them. But, you know, when you're only 3 feet tall, all the snows are big snows.
So here's one thing. I'll ask Matt. Well, I'll ask anybody here. Anybody that's not Sean. What did you guys usually do on your snow or ice day besides play outside? What was like your go-to thing inside that you were doing?
And Joe, I heard you mention play video games, and yeah,
I was going to say that.
If there was snow, and you of course play with that in San Antonio, that's a big deal. But I have more memories of ice days in San Antonio. There are more ice days than snow days, and so you don't go and play in the ice rather than take some pictures of the ice, but you don't play in the ice. So then I might carefully walk over to my friend's house, or my friend might carefully walk over to my house, and we'd get together and play some video games. That's my most distinct memory of how we were spending those ice days, or watching movies.
Did you have a LAN party, Matt?
A what party?
A LAN party. Remember
What's
LAN,
that?
like the way to connect different.
Oh,
Yeah,
no. We would do it the old school way. No, we weren't. We'd get together and play multiplayer, like sitting
Okay.
next to each other. That's how old I am.
Gotcha.
We didn't do online gaming.
Xbox Live, you didn't have the Xbox Live Gold, you know, you were playing other people on 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday.
No.
No.
I did it in person. Once the online game really took off, I was kind of past video games at that point.
Gotcha.
It was definitely my middle school and high school years were the video gaming years.
Gotcha.
Matt knows because we came from San Antonio. We just didn't really have snow days. Like there were not, what was it? 84, they had a big snow, and then right, Matt, 84, 85.
85? I think it might have been 85.
And then they had a big snow day recently, which was what,
2021. I was there as an adult.
Oh, you were? Oh, that's fine. Well, like, so those are like those are snow days, right? Like Matt said, everything else was just like, if it happened, it was like because they're like, you know, some of the bridges iced over. So it wasn't ever like fun. Now, I will say, having children, I'm sorry I keep going back to this, but I'm kind of like, you know, you get to relive your youth. Having kids, when we have, you know, 4 to 6 inches of snow here in Tulsa, well, it's a ton of fun. And we're out there and we're building some snowmen, and we come in and we have hot chocolate, and, you know, we do all that stuff. But man, I just don't remember having snow days like that in San Antonio at all.
Do you guys feel like you missed out on something by not having that snow as a kid, or do you think it more than made up for the fact that like March and April and November were all like, nice weather months to be outside, and us Northerners were, still in the cold?
Now, having kids in a part of the country that actually gets snow days, we missed out. Like, I think that would have been so much fun. You know what I mean? I mean, watching my kids like play in the snow is just super cool. And Matt and I didn't do that unless we drove to Colorado. But that didn't happen. So can I interject with one little thing that
Yeah.
I have found that's interesting in this part of the country? They have actually called severe weather days. So if they know that there is going to be a severe weather outbreak here in Tulsa, they will actually have an early dismissal and have the kids go home soon. If they know that there's going to be tornadoes, which is different.
Interesting. So like, what is it like, not to get like too in the weeds on the weather, but like, what's like the criteria that's going to get there? Like, is it a certain storm prediction center risk? Is there like a tornado watch that's going out that day?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I've never like spoken with a a school what are they called? Not correspondent,
administrator,
but superintendent. Yeah, I've never talked to like a superintendent to ask them what they actually do. But I will say, like, if there is a day where it is a heightened risk to where we're like at a moderate or something like that from the SPC, and we're really ramping it up and talking about it, that has happened, and they've had the kids go home early that day, in advance of potentially having severe weather.
Interesting. So, okay.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like fun because the kids aren't going to go outside and play.
No, it's not. It's not the
tornadoes.
They go outside while the tornado warnings. If I do not
hey,
do that.
kids, come watch the sky turning green. This is so fun.
Right. All right. So we're on our last question here, and this again for our San Antonio meteorologists here. I don't know what your school district did, but my question is, what at the end of the school year, or you look at the school year as a whole, would you rather have? Would you rather go over your amount of allotted snow days and school extends later into the year, or have actually 0 snow days and you get out in June or May, whenever everybody gets out, a few days earlier? Did you guys have snow days built into your calendar?
We did.
Well, we would have makeup days. So like I do remember like the one year in high school where we were off for a couple days because of an ice storm, and then we had to make those up, and the school year was extended by a couple of days. So I know what you're talking about. So basically, you would rather like there be a lack of snow days so you get out at the scheduled time, or you're okay with extending the school year?
Pretty much, although in some places you will get out earlier if you don't use all your snow days.
Yes, I remember that growing up, because the school districts, they would built in a few days just for that reason. And if you didn't use them, you got out earlier. But sometimes there were a couple of years where it was really bad and you still had to add a whole bunch of days either to the end or to eat away at your spring break. Oh, like, good luck with that. Now you don't even have a spring break. You got a spring 2 days or something like that. So I kind of like it when it works out the right way. They put aside 4 days and you use 4 days, and that's great. I don't like going later into the season or later into the summer if we can help it. I like it just in between, just enough. So if I had to pick one or the other, I would say I will want a few more snow days in the middle of the season and then go 2 or 3 days later into June, because I really enjoy that break and the dead of winter.
I wouldn't want to extend the school year at all into the summer. So I'd rather there not be snow days.
All right. So no snow days at all. Matt?
Yeah, I think no snow days at all, and ending the school year a little bit early, just because by the time you get to May, you are just so anxious for school to be over. And if there was a possibility that it ended early, I'd be all about it. And maybe it's also the fact, like Kirsten mentioned, growing up, there were many years where there wasn't a snow or ice day. So that's just kind of the standard thing, especially in South Texas. And I imagine other parts of the South. So if we had the chance to get done with school early, there wasn't any snow or ice, but we could get done early. Yeah, I'm all about it. Especially because in May, I'm really anxious for this year to be over.
I'm going to join my fellow Texans here, and I agree. I would rather school end early. If you had to go 0 snow days and you got out a little bit early, I think that'd be better. I think when you're in June, to Matt's point, or May, I know some places get out in May, you're pretty much just itching for school to be there and to know that, oh my God, I just used, 7 snow days and now we got to stay at school a couple more days later. Might be a little too much to, you might have a little regret, like, geez, I wish we didn't have all those snow days, especially, I mean, let's be honest here. You look at the school calendar, right? I mean, you have winter break in December into early January. You have MLK Day in January. You have President's Day weekend. You got spring break. It's not like we don't have any stretches. Really, our longest stretch of nothing is like, after spring break, you got that Memorial Day, and then that's it. And then pretty much the start of the year, your October into Thanksgiving is your probably maybe longest break, but I think I'd rather have school end early and have no snow days. So that's it. We're going to take a break. We're going to talk to Tony Rice. He's going to give us our astronomy report. We'll wrap it on up here with our snow day one, and we'll talk to you a little bit about what's to come. This is the Across the Sky podcast.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your Astronomy Outlook.
Jupiter recently retook its crown as the king of the solar system, at least when it comes to moons. An additional 12 Jovian moons have been added to the Minor Planet Center's published orbits, in addition to the 80 that were already there. This pulls Jupiter ahead of Saturn's 83 confirmed moons. Now, these new moons are pretty small, between 3 and 8 kilometers across, and they're really far out, taking nearly an Earth year to complete an orbit. Several are in retrograde orbit, meaning they're moving in the opposite direction of all the other moons, which probably means they're the result of colliding asteroids, which were then captured by Jupiter's massive gravity. Unlike the larger, more interesting Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, which were probably formed in place. Jupiter's position on top of the moon podium may be short-lived, though. As Sky and Telescope magazine points out, there's a lot of objects around 3 kilometers across which have been discovered around Saturn, but they've yet to be tracked well enough to determine their orbits, and if they are moons of that ringed planet or not. But as instruments improve, this could change. That's your Astronomy Outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
Thank you, Tony, for that. There might be some snow days in outer space, depending on the planet. Maybe somewhere in the galaxy has some water that freezes and turns into snow. We haven't gotten there yet, but maybe one day we'll see. All right, so I had a really good time with this. I had fun. This is really cool. I'm going to kind of chew over some of this data, and maybe I can do something with it for all of our listeners next week to see what everybody thinks. And you let us know what you think as well. We'll see what we can do to get some engagement. We want to hear from you about this. But what does everyone think about snow days as we wrap on up here?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from people that had more experience with them growing up than growing up in San Antonio. They were, I will say, when they happened, even if it was an ice day, we were all very excited because there were certainly years where there was nothing and we went to school every day. So when it did happen, which was probably every, I would say 3 or 4 years. They were usually like 3 and 4 year gaps. So there's something, I mean, it didn't take much, but that's like how little snow and ice San Antonio typically gets. Especially when I was growing. Actually, it seems like they've gotten a little bit more snow and ice since I've been done with school, actually, with good old climate change, wild things have been happening in San Antonio, like this most recent ice storm in Texas and the crazy cold and snow, epic amount of snow in San Antonio in 2021. But yeah, I'd love to hear from people who had more experience with snow and ice growing up and snow days. I definitely wish I could have had more of them.
An epic snow, just so everybody knows, I think, 3 to 6 inches, Matt? That's epic.
Yeah, in San Antonio, snow. Yeah, it was. We had
epic.
It was about 3.5 inch snow, and then a few days later there was another 2 inch snow, and it was, oh my gosh, another 2 inches. Ah.
You gotta remember though, they don't have. I mean, things. They don't treat roads around there like that. So.
Right.
If you just have 3
not
inches,
a ready supply of snow plows to clear the roads.
So if you have 3 inches of snow, like that, it's not going to be cleared unless you clear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, any final thoughts?
One of the things that I did like when my kids were growing up, 11 and 7, 12 and 8, that age, when they would get a snow day. And that time I was either working on the air in the morning or in the evening. So you would still have a window of opportunity to go out and play with your kids in the snow. And that's one of the things that one of my fondest memories of, even though I had to work on the air, I would get off at 12:30 or 1 in the afternoon, and then we'd have several hours we could go play in the snow. Or sometimes it was vice versa, get up early, play with the kids, and then of course you got to go out and you got to shower up, get the suit on, and go to work. But that was one thing that was very nice about the snow days when we had them, when my kids were that age, was to go out and play in the snow with them. So I hope you get every opportunity to do that, Kirsten, because it is a wonderful, wonderful memory.
Yeah. Mine's still not that old, but even little, they have fun. So, and I'm jealous that they're getting those experiences and I didn't get them as a kid, but I get to relive them as an adult through my kids.
Yeah. You two could go sledding. It doesn't matter. You can be whatever age.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap it up for this week's Across the Sky podcast, all about snow days. Let us know some of your favorite snow days on the socials as we go forward here. Kind of looking ahead, we have a couple of people scheduled for you, a couple of really good guests that we're excited to have on. We're going to have Chris Budden. She works at ESPN as a sideline reporter. She's going to talk to us about football and weather around the time of the Super Bowl here. So we figured we'd do that in the next couple of weeks. And then baseball and weather will be coming up as well as a topic. And we also have someone from the National Severe Storms Laboratory. And I'm going to, pardon me if I don't get the name right. Is it Dana, Carlos, Sean, and Kirsten? Am I saying that right?
Danae Carlos, yes.
Danae Carlos. There we go. Perfect. So we're going to have a couple of guests coming up throughout the month of February and into early March. And, of course, more topics as we go forward. So thank you, everybody, again, for listening to the Across the Sky podcast. I'm Joe Martucci at the Press of Atlantic City. Sean Subwood's at the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Matt Hollander's in the Midwest. And Kirsten Lang is at the Tulsa World. Take care.